During a family vacation, my husband's parents insisted I sit at a separate table. No one spoke to me the entire trip. When I asked my husband, he shrugged, "It's just their way." I smiled and said, "Perfect. I have my own way too." The next morning, they found out what I had done, and panic set in. Looking back, the signs were always there. The little comments, the dismissive looks, the way I was always treated like an afterthought in my own marriage. But I ignored them because I loved my husband, Mark. I thought if I just kept trying, if I kept being patient, things would change. They didn't. Instead, I found myself on a family vacation that was supposed to be a fun, relaxing trip to Hilton Head, South Carolina, but it turned into something else. Something I'll never forget. We had just arrived at the resort. It was a beautiful place, the kind you see in travel magazines. White sand, palm trees, the sound of waves crashing in the distance. I was actually excited. I thought maybe, just maybe, this trip would be different. That Richard and Susan, my in-laws, would finally warm up to me. That we'd sit together, laugh, bond as a family. I was wrong. That first night, we went to a nice restaurant for dinner. The waiter showed us to a long table, set perfectly for our group. Just as I was about to sit down next to Mark, Richard spoke up. "Oh, there must be a mistake," he said, shaking his head. "She'll need her own table." I blinked, thinking I must have misheard. "Excuse me?" I said. Susan didn't even look up from the menu. "It's just how we do things." I looked at Mark, waiting for him to say something. To tell them this was ridiculous. That I was his wife, not some random stranger. Instead, he just sighed. Shrugged. "It's just their way," he muttered. Their way. So I sat at my own table. Alone. I should have left right then and there. But I didn't. I stayed, thinking maybe it was just a weird tradition, a one-time thing. But it wasn't. The next morning, I woke up early, ready to go to breakfast with the family. I walked down to the hotel restaurant, expecting to see them waiting for me. They weren't. I texted Mark. No response. I wandered around for nearly half an hour before I finally found them, already sitting at a large table, mid-meal, laughing and chatting like nothing was wrong. Like I wasn't even there. I walked up, confused. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming down?" Richard barely looked up. "We assumed you'd figure it out." Susan sipped her coffee. "It's just how we do things." I glanced at Mark. He was already eating, acting like this was totally normal. That was the moment I realized I wasn't part of their family. I never had been. And Mark? He wasn't on my side. The rest of the trip followed the same pattern. Every meal, I sat alone. Every group activity, they conveniently forgot to tell me. They went out on a private boat tour. I found out about it when I saw their pictures on Instagram. They did a fancy wine tasting. I only realized when I walked past them in the lobby, dressed up and heading out the door. I asked Mark about it later. "You could have texted me," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. He just sighed again, as if I was the one being difficult. "It's just their way." That was the only answer he ever gave me. By the fourth day, I gave up. I stopped trying. I stopped asking. They wanted me to be invisible? Fine. But they had no idea what was coming. Because I had my own way too. That night, while they were out drinking and celebrating their perfect little family vacation, I went back to the hotel room and got to work. I wasn't just sitting at a separate table anymore. I was about to remove myself completely. And they were about to feel it. I pulled up my email, opened the reservation confirmations, and got to work. Because guess what? I had booked everything. The hotel? My name. The rental car? My credit card. The dinner reservations? My account. The resort spa day Susan had been looking forward to for weeks. Oh yeah, I had booked that too. I cancelled everything. One by one, I wiped their plans off the map. Their rooms? Cancelled. Their rental car? Gone. Their fancy dinner at the waterfront restaurant? Not happening. I even called the spa and politely informed them that Susan would not be attending. And then? I packed my bags, took the rental car, and left. While they were clinking glasses and toasting to their perfect vacation, I was already driving down the highway, heading toward Charleston. I booked myself a luxury suite, ordered room service, and sat on the balcony watching the ocean, finally at peace. Meanwhile, back in Hilton Head? Panic was about to set in. I woke up in Charleston feeling refreshed for the first time in days. The ocean breeze drifted through my hotel room as I sipped my coffee, stretched out on a plush lounge chair, and watched the waves roll in. Then my phone started vibrating. Mark. I let it ring. Then Susan. Then Mark again. Then Richard. I turned my phone on silent and smiled. They had finally noticed. I imagined the exact moment the realization hit them. Richard, stepping out of bed, groggy and grumbling, only to be met by a hotel manager at the door. "Sir, there seems to be an issue with your reservation." Susan, mid-stretch, rolling over to grab her phone, ready to check the itinerary for the day, only to see a string of cancellation emails. Mark, rubbing his temples, confused, still half asleep, hearing his mother's voice escalate from mild irritation to full-on screaming. They had no rooms. No car. No plans. I smiled into my coffee. A few hours later, when I finally got tired of the silence, I checked my messages. "Mark, where are you?" "Mark, what the hell is going on?" "Mark, you need to fix this. Now." I decided to pick up his next call, just for fun. "Where are you?" Mark demanded the second I answered. "Charleston." A pause. "Charleston? What the hell are you doing there?" "Enjoying my vacation." Silence. I could hear voices in the background. Susan was yelling at the hotel staff. Richard was swearing under his breath. "You cancelled everything?" Mark finally asked, his voice lower now, like he still couldn't quite believe it. "Yes." He sucked in a sharp breath. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "My parents have nowhere to stay. We had plans." "You left us stranded." "Oh no," I said, voice dripping with fake concern. "That must be so uncomfortable." Mark was silent again, probably realizing I had used his own words against him. I continued, "You all wanted me to be separate. So I gave you what you wanted." "This is insane," he snapped. "You need to come back." I laughed. "No, Mark. I really don't." And I hung up. I later found out just how badly things went for them. With the hotel fully booked, they had to scramble to find another place to stay. They ended up in a dingy roadside motel, 20 minutes away from the resort. The kind with flickering lights and a weird smell in the air. No rental car meant they had to Uber everywhere, but Hilton Head isn't exactly packed with rideshare drivers. Surge pricing hit them hard. And the fancy dinner Richard had been bragging about for weeks? Fully booked now. They had to eat at a random tourist trap, surrounded by screaming kids and bad seafood. Susan threw a full-on tantrum at the spa when she realized her reservation was gone. She demanded they fit her in anyway. They didn't. I got all of this from the angry texts Mark sent later. "Mark, you seriously just left us like this?" "Mark, Mom is furious. She was humiliated at the spa." "Mark, Dad is losing his mind over the restaurant." "Mark, I hope you're happy." I was. I thought that would be the worst of it for them. A little inconvenience, a taste of their own medicine. But then, something really interesting happened. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Mark. It was a message from Sarah, Mark's cousin. "Sarah. Hey, just wanted to say, I heard what happened. And honestly? Good for you." I frowned, rereading the message. Sarah and I had always gotten along fine, but she wasn't exactly my confidant. Wait, what do you mean?" Her response made my stomach drop. "Sarah, they did the same thing to Mark's ex-wife." I sat up straight. Mark's ex-wife? He had always told me his first marriage ended because they grew apart. Nothing dramatic, just differences that couldn't be fixed. I had never questioned it. But now? What do you mean?" "Sarah, she went on a family trip with them. They treated her like garbage the entire time. Made her sit at a separate table, ignored her, acted like she wasn't there. She left halfway through. Filed for divorce a month later." My heart pounded. "Sarah, I didn't say anything before because I figured you knew. But seeing what they did to you." I realized he never told you, did he? No. No, he hadn't. Because if he had, I never would have gone on this trip. If he had, I would have known this wasn't just their way, this was a pattern. And Mark? He had known exactly what was happening. And he had let it happen anyway. That night, Mark called again. This time, I answered. I need you to fix this, he said immediately, his voice low, tight with frustration. No, you don't understand. My parents, I understand perfectly, I cut him off. This wasn't about traditions. This was about control. You knew they were going to do this to me. And you let it happen. Silence. Then, who told you that? Bingo. I laughed. So it's true. I wasn't the first. More silence. Then, Mark sighed. Look, my parents can be a little difficult. But they mean well. Mark, they don't even see me as part of the family. He hesitated, and I knew. Right then and there. He wasn't going to fight for me. He never had. Come back, he said instead. Let's fix this. I stared out at the ocean, at the waves crashing gently against the shore. No, I said again, voice steady. I think I've already fixed it. And I hung up. After I hung up on Mark, I stared at my phone, my mind racing. Mark had known. He had seen this all before. And he still let me walk straight into it. I wasn't just furious anymore, I was done. I poured myself another drink, leaned back in my lounge chair, and tried to enjoy the rest of my evening. But something was nagging at me. If he had lied about his ex-wife, what else had he lied about? I decided to do some digging. I opened Facebook and searched for her name, Rachel, Mark's ex-wife. I had never thought to look her up before, but now? I needed answers. Her profile was private, but I scrolled through her mutual friends, searching for anyone who might be willing to talk. Then I saw her sister's profile. Lauren. And she had public posts. I clicked on one from 2 years ago, just after Rachel and Mark had split. Never let a man's family destroy you. Never let them convince you that you're less than you are. My sister deserved better. We all tried to warn her. Never again. My stomach twisted. I scrolled further and found an old comment from Sarah, Mark's cousin, the same one who had messaged me. I wish she had listened to us. At least she's free now. Listen to them? I sat there, my heart pounding. I didn't know what to do. I could message Lauren. I could ask her what really happened. But was I ready to hear it? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then, finally, I took a deep breath and typed. Me, hey, this is going to sound really random, but I think we need to talk. She responded within minutes. Lauren didn't waste time. Lauren, I was wondering when you'd reach out. That single message hit me like a punch to the stomach. Me, so you know who I am? Lauren, yeah. We've been waiting for this to happen. I stared at the screen, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. We? Me, what do you mean? Lauren, Rachel wasn't the first, you know. And she sure wasn't the last. My breath caught. Me, what are you saying? Lauren, I'm saying Mark has done this before. More than once. His parents have done this before. More than once. Lauren, and if you're talking to me right now, I'm guessing you just went through it too. I felt sick. This wasn't just some one-off pattern. This was a game to them. A twisted little tradition they played on every woman Mark brought into his life. They never saw his partners as real family. Just obstacles. And Mark? He let it happen every time. Me, why didn't anyone tell me? Lauren, we tried. But Mark always makes sure his girlfriends stay isolated. He tells them his family just has quirks or traditions. He makes sure they don't ask too many questions. Did he ever tell you Rachel was the problem? I closed my eyes. He had. He had painted Rachel as difficult, as someone who never understood his family, who always made drama over small things. But now? I knew the truth. Rachel hadn't been dramatic. She had been trapped. And now, so was I. Or at least, I had been. Until now. I didn't sleep that night. The realization that I had wasted years of my life on this man burned in my chest. But there was something else too. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Why had Mark called me so many times today? Why was he this desperate? Then, at 6 a.m., I got my answer. A text popped up from an unknown number. Ma'am, this is Officer Daniels with the Hilton Head Police Department. We need to speak with you regarding a missing persons report filed by your husband. I sat up so fast I nearly knocked my phone off the nightstand. Missing persons report? I scrambled to call back, my mind racing. The second the officer picked up, I blurted, I'm fine. I'm not missing. A pause. Then, ma'am, are you saying you left voluntarily? Yes. Obviously, I left voluntarily. My husband knows exactly where I am. He's been calling me non-stop. The officer sighed. Your husband reported that you left without explanation and haven't been answering his calls. He said he was concerned for your safety. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth hurt. This wasn't concern. This was control. Mark hadn't been worried about me. He had been trying to force me to come back. I took a deep breath. Officer, I am perfectly fine. I am in Charleston. I left Hilton Head by choice. I am not missing, and I do not want my husband contacting me. A pause. Would you like to file a formal request for no further contact? I hesitated. Then, finally, I exhaled. Yes. I would. And just like that, I put the first legal nail in the coffin of my marriage. Not even an hour later, my phone buzzed with a new text. This time, it was from Susan. Susan, I cannot believe you would humiliate us like this. I laughed out loud. I ignored it. Then another message. Susan, you made Mark involve the police? Do you have any idea how this looks? Oh, I made Mark involve the police? I rolled my eyes and took another sip of my coffee. Then the messages kept coming. Susan, this family has done nothing but try to welcome you. Susan, you're being incredibly selfish. Susan, you need to come back and fix this. And finally, Susan, if you don't come back, Mark is going to make things very difficult for you. I froze. It wasn't even subtle. It was a threat. I sat back in my chair, rereading the message over and over. I had thought this was just about control. Just about their twisted little family games. But now? Now I realized something much worse. They weren't just trying to humiliate me. They were trying to break me. And if I didn't do something fast, Mark was about to make sure they succeeded. I stared at Susan's text for a long time. If you don't come back, Mark is going to make things very difficult for you. It wasn't even a warning. It was a promise. I could feel it now, the shift. This wasn't just them being cold or dismissive. This was a battle, and I was supposed to roll over and lose. But I wouldn't. Not this time. I cracked my knuckles, took a deep breath, and sent one single message back. Me, perfect. Let's make things difficult, then. Then I booked a hotel conference room in Charleston and invited everyone, Mark, his parents, and Sarah. Because if they wanted a war, I was going to bring it right to their doorstep. The next morning, I sat in the conference room waiting. The long wooden table was set with nothing but bottled water and the thick silence of anticipation. I didn't wait long. The door slammed open. Mark stormed in first, his jaw clenched so tightly I thought his teeth might crack. His parents followed, Susan's heels clicking sharply against the floor, Richard's face already red with anger. Sarah came in last, hesitant, her arms crossed. She gave me a slight nod. I had no idea if she was here as a witness, a mediator, or just for the drama. I leaned back in my chair. Glad you could all make it. Mark's voice was sharp. What the hell is this? I smiled, slow and deliberate. A conversation. You've been so eager to talk. So let's talk. Richard scoffed, arms folded across his chest. You think this is funny? No, I said calmly. I think it's pathetic. I think you people play sick little games with the women in your family, and you finally picked the wrong one. Susan's eyes narrowed. You abandoned us. I laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, I abandoned you? That's rich, coming from the people who spent an entire vacation pretending I didn't exist. Mark exhaled harshly, gripping the back of a chair. You're blowing this out of proportion. That was it. That was the moment. I slammed my hands on the table so hard that Susan flinched. I am your wife. My voice echoed in the room, cold and sharp. Asterisk asterisk, not a stranger. Not some random outsider. I am your wife, and you let them treat me like nothing. And you, I jabbed a finger at Mark. Knew this wasn't the first time. You knew exactly what was happening, and you let it happen anyway. His face paled. Susan cut in quickly, her voice high-pitched. We were just following tradition, bullshit. I shot back. It's not tradition. It's control. It's a test, and you fail every woman who walks into this family. Mark shook his head. You're overreacting. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the messages from Lauren, and threw it onto the table in front of him. Read it. He hesitated. Read it. Slowly, Mark picked up the phone and scrolled. I watched his face tighten with every word. Then he threw the phone down like it burned him. This isn't proof of anything. Richard crossed his arms. You're digging up old stories. It has nothing to do with us. I turned to Susan. Is that right? Because last night, you sent me a message threatening me. You told me if I didn't come back, Mark would make things difficult. Her mouth snapped shut. Sarah let out a low whistle. Wow. Mark turned to his mother, eyes narrowing. You did what? Susan stiffened. I was trying to make her understand what? Mark's voice rose. That you've been playing this game for years? That you did the same thing to Rachel? Richard shifted uncomfortably. Susan shot him a look, but the damage was done. Mark's jaw twitched. Jesus Christ. And just like that, I saw it. The crack. The tiny fracture in his carefully built loyalty to his parents. The moment he realized I hadn't been wrong. That I had never been wrong. Mark turned back to me. For the first time, he actually looked unsure. I stared at him, waiting. Waiting to see if he would finally say something that mattered. But then? He ran his hands through his hair and sighed. I can fix this. My stomach dropped. That was his first instinct? Not an apology. Not regret. Just fixing the optics. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. You really don't get it, do you? Silence. I stood up, adjusting my bag. I'm not coming back, Mark. That snapped him out of it. Wait, what? I'm done. His eyes widened. You're serious? Sarah snorted. Dude. How have you not figured that out by now? Susan's voice rose. This is ridiculous. You're throwing away your marriage over a misunderstanding. I shook my head. No, Susan. You threw it away. You and Richard and your sick, twisted way of treating people. Mark was just too weak to stop it. Mark reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Wait, let's talk about this. I held up my hand. No, Mark. You talk. You make excuses. You let them control you. But I'm done listening. I grabbed my phone and walked to the door. Mark's voice was almost desperate now. Wait, where are you going? I turned back, staring at him one last time. I'm leaving. Susan scoffed. You can't just leave a marriage. I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. Watch me. Then I walked out the door. It took 6 months to finalize the divorce. Mark tried everything, begging, blaming, even accusing me of overreacting, but I never looked back. Sarah stayed in touch. She told me things imploded after I left. Apparently, Mark finally confronted his parents, and it wasn't pretty. Richard called him weak. Susan cried, saying I had brainwashed him. For the first time, Mark saw them for what they really were. It didn't change anything for me. I was already gone. I moved back to Charleston permanently. I found a new apartment, reconnected with old friends, and started rebuilding my life. One night, months later, I got a text from an unknown number. Mark, I see it now. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. Because for the first time in years, I was free.